Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another HOBOTECH News product review. Rockpals is known for their many budget offerings in the portable power segment. The latest is the Freeman 600 with a lithium iron phosphate battery and a 600 watt pure sine inverter. But is it any good? Let's find out.
HOBOTECH.
Inside the Freeman 600 is a 1614 watt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery, and per the manual, it says it's rated at 2,000 cycles to 80%. Size and weight, this is approximately 13 by 8 by 7 inches at 17.6 pounds according to my scale. As for build quality, it is all ABS plastic with a fold flat handle and an LCD display that shows input and output watts, battery percentage with icon, and internal temperature. As for the inverter, it sports a 600 watt pure sine inverter with 1,000 watt surge ability through 3 AC outlets on the back. As for ways to charge, there are 4. First is, of course, by AC wall brick. This is a 96 watt brick that will charge the Freeman 600 in about 6 hours. And included is a 12 volt car charger cable, good for charging in about 8 hours. It does come with an Anderson adapter, which changes horizontal to vertical because the Anderson input on this is vertical. So if you have a horizontal connection from a solar panel, you can use this to convert that. The Freeman 600 supports a maximum of 120 watts of solar input, which means it'll charge in about 5 hours. Finally, it does charge from bidirectional USB-C power delivery. This does have a 60 watt power delivery port, and that allows you to put 60 watts in or take 60 watts out. The USB-C charging is going to take you about 10 hours if you use it alone. However, this does support simultaneous charging, so you can plug in the USB-C 60 watt at the same time as you plug in a solar panel or AC wall brick, and you can charge this from 0 to full in about 3.5 hours. Now these figures are estimated based on my own testing. And as for 12 volt outputs, you do have the standard cigarette lighter accessory socket, good for 10 amps, and a pair of 5521 barrel plug outputs, good for 5 amps each. As for USB support, this has a single bidirectional 60 watt USB-C power delivery port as mentioned before, one 18 watt USB-A quick charge port, and a pair of standard USB-A outputs, good for charging your dinosaurs. As for the warranty on the Freeman 600, it does come with an 18-month manufacturer's warranty, which can be extended to 24 months if you register the product. And of course, we took the Freeman 600 into my secret laboratory here. We performed all kinds of crazy experiments on it, including, yes, a double-fisted battery capacity test. As for the results of the DC battery capacity test, it scored 509 watt hours out of 614 for a solid 83%, which is about industry standard. However, that's unfortunately where the good news ends, because the AC battery capacity test scored only 380 out of 614 watt hours for an abysmal 62%. And for some reason, the inverter shut down at 10% battery, so technically there was still 10% battery left that you could use through 12 volt or USB, but would allow you to turn the inverter on. And yes, I ran this result twice just to make sure it was accurate, and both times I came up with 380 watt hours. So that is the true output of the AC inverter on this product. Inverter capacity test. This is where we determine how much power can we pull out of the inverter of the Rockpals. And of course, that means none other than the solar degenerator. So the inverter on this is 600 watts. Let's see, can we pull 600 and how much beyond 600 watts before it shuts down? And does it shut down safely? Okay, so we're watching this number right here. We're gonna go ahead and take it out to 600 watts. Okay, there we are at 600, 650, 700. Right at 700, it shuts down. Pure sine wave check under load. We're running the Rockpals under a 300 watt load. Let's check out the sine wave. Sine wave looks good. Now we're going to do the 5-minute sustained cooling, or what I call the heat soak test. This tests to make sure that the cooling system in the Rockpals functions properly. So we're going to run it at its 600 watt capacity for 5 minutes, and we're going to see, does anything happen? All right, there we have it, 600 watts. Start the timer. And there we have it, 5 minutes at 600 watts. So what about the decibels? How loud is it while the inverter is on maximum fan? So about 59 decibels from a meter away. These fans are very loud. Now it's not a disturbing sound, but they're pretty loud.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud. Next, please.
So this here is what they call the user manual. It does say in here that the maximum range of input is from 12 volts to 26 volts, maximum of 120 watts. Now that is either through the 6.5 millimeter barrel plug input or the Anderson input. These both do the same thing. So currently I have this set to 12 volts. It is outputting 6 amps and charging the Freeman 600 at 77 watts. This is 12 volt charging. Now it says right on here, never exceed 26 volts. So let's go ahead and crank this up to 26 volts and see what kind of maximum power we can get. Okay, at 26 volts, it's outputting 4.7 amps for a maximum of 120 watts, which is what it says in the manual. So what happens if we exceed 26 volts? Well, may as well risk frying this thing. So let's find out. 27, 28, 29, 30. So we're at 30 volts. It's still inputting 120 watts. Obviously, this is hardwired to not accept more than 120 watts. And at 31 volts, the input just shuts off. So it does have self-protection. Let's go ahead and knock it back to a proper voltage, and it starts right back up. So it does self-protect. If you accidentally go over that 26 volts maximum, looks like you have a couple volts leeway, somewhere around 30 volts, it will automatically shut off. That means the Rockpals only supports one solar panel. Now you can put 2 solar panels in parallel, but we're seeing here the amp limit is pretty low. So you can still overpanel by putting more than 1 solar panel in parallel with this, but it's only going to charge at 120 watts no matter what you do. So putting anything more than 200 watts of solar on this is going to be a complete waste. So how loud are the fans while it's charging at its max 120 watt rate? About 46 decibels, much quieter charging this unit than discharging this unit. Now, is there any way to charge this thing any faster? 120 watts in 2022 is pathetically slow. This does have a 60 watt bidirectional power delivery port, and I do have a power band which is capable of charging at 100 watts USB. So I have it plugged in right now. It is outputting 60 watts because this has a 60 watt port. It's outputting 60 watts into the Rockpals while I'm charging it with solar AC 12 volt at the same time. Now, this source doesn't matter. It could be any of those three. The maximum input wattage on these ports on the side is 120 watts. So you can add another 60 watts to that, and there's going to be a little bit of loss to heat and everything, and we are charging at a more respectable 171 watts. We have 120 right there. Plug in the power delivery port, and bam, 171, just like that. So the Freeman 600 does in fact support simultaneous charging from 2 different sources. Now, what about pass-through charging? Does the Freeman 600 support pass-through charging, which means if you have power pumping into it, can you use all the outputs while you're charging it? So currently I do not have it charging, but I do have it set 12 volt output. You can see it's regulated at 13.2 volts. I do have USB plugged in. It's lit up and turned on. And I do have this little heater turned on. I'm actually going to put it on low because it's already hot in here. So right now all the outputs are working on the Freeman. What happens if I turn on my simulated solar? So I go to charge this. Is it going to pass through? Are any of these going to shut off? Let's find out. Okay, something interesting just happened. When I turned on the solar power, the USB still working and the 12 volt still working, but it seems as though while you're charging, you can't use the inverter. I'm just going to repeat this experiment because I don't believe this. So Let's go ahead and try this again. Okay, take two. This time I'm backed up so you guys can see everything I'm doing. All I'm gonna do is flip this red switch, which is gonna send power into the Rockpals. You can see it, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's 3 green lights, which is telling 12 volts, AC, and USB. And you can see the little red light here that says that the heater's running. Let's go ahead and turn the breaker and see what happens. We're charging. The AC inverter turns off, but USB and 12 volt continue to run. So the Rockpals Freeman 600 in the year 2022 does not support AC pass-through. It only supports DC pass-through. And what that means is while you're charging this unit, you can only use the DC or the USB. You cannot use the inverter. And if you're wondering how fast does it charge from the included AC wall charger brick, it charges at a whopping 90 watts. Welcome to 2019. Okay, so we've already tested the 60 watt power delivery port on this. We know it actually supports 60 watts. There is a single USB-A quick charge port on this, which I have hooked up to my phone, which does support quick charging. So basically all I have to do is just turn it on and see, is it quick charging? So let's go ahead and plug it in. If you hear a ding and it says turbo power, then we're good. Ding, turbo power connected. So that means it is quick charging from the single quick charge port. The other 2 USB ports on here are the dinosaur ports. There's no point in wasting anyone's time even looking at those. What about the 12 volt output on this? It does support 10 amps as specified. Musician's favorite, amp interference test. This is where we determine how much noise does the inverter make. Can it actually be used for audio amplifiers or ham radios? Let's find out. All I have to do is turn on the AC inverter and we'll see how much noise we get. And just as we expected, it is in fact noisy. Now this is not a surprise, seeing that this is a low priced product with a cheap inverter. So we're not really expecting it's going to run silently or cleanly through an amplifier. So this takes me to what I don't like about the Freeman 600. No AC pass-through charging, really?
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hi.
Wall charging that literally takes all day. Poor inverter results. I mean, these things might have been acceptable a few years ago, but in 2022, the competition is fierce and customers today are very demanding. Fortunately, the low price might make amends for some of its shortcomings for those that don't need things like AC pass-through charging or who don't care how fast it charges from the wall. And that's what takes me to what I like about the Freeman 600. Rockpals finally has made the jump to lithium iron phosphate. Rockpals is known for being a discount brand, and that means you don't have to break the bank to get a power station with a long life battery now. And that brings us to the best thing of all about Rockpals: dirt cheap price per watt. And this means I was able to swing quite a deal for viewers of HOBOTECH. With my discount code, the limited time price is $389. That's only 63 cents a watt hour. I also got a deal on the 100 watt Rockpals panel. Now there's nothing special or great about this panel. In fact, it's pretty dated technology in of itself, but it's a 100 watt panel for only 159 bucks. Everyone else is charging like 300 bucks for a 100 watt panel. Now that's 159 with my discount code for a limited time. Now what about competition? We all know nowadays that there are dozens and dozens of competitors in this segment. Some of them are really scary, junky, and can actually beat this on price. Now if you opt for one of those ABC XYZ brands, be sure to also opt for a fire extinguisher. And I'm not kidding about that. At least with the Rockpals lithium iron phosphate battery, you don't have to worry about it burning your place down. Now others like BLUETTI and ECOFLOW offer higher quality products and better support, but it comes at a price. The saying, you get what you pay for, is very true when it comes to the solar power station market. For example, the JACKERY 500 and BLUETTI EB55 are higher quality products, but both have smaller batteries than the Rockpals and cost 110 bucks more. So if you don't need the fancy bells and whistles, the Bluetooth, the wireless charging, fast AC charging, things like that, you may take the Rockpals pretty seriously at the price per watt. So that means if you're a frugal individual, aka a cheap bastard, and cost is the #1 deciding factor in your purchasing decision, Rockpals is for you. Now, what about recommended solar? This thing can only handle 120 watts of solar. It doesn't matter how big of a panel you put on it. The limits on the solar are pretty strong. It says right on the front, don't exceed 26 volts. That means 1 solar panel. Don't try to put 2 on it. You'll burn it up. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is really hard to beat. This is a 100-watt panel, plugs right into this with Anderson input. It's $159 with my code. You're pretty much not going to beat this combination for price. Now, I know this panel isn't going to charge the Freeman 600 in 1 solar day, but it'll get you about 80% of the way there. You can take it down to about 20-25%. That solar panel, under ideal conditions, should charge this backup in 1 solar day. So I would not buy this product and put a giant panel on it. You're just going to be wasting your time, wasting your money. This is designed to slowly charge with a small panel because I'm going to tell you a secret. It's cheap, so it's not supposed to be a high-performance product. So if you're interested in the Freeman 600, there's a link below in the description of this video. I'll also put it across the bottom of the screen with a QR code that you can click on that'll take you to where you can check out the Rockpals. Make sure you use that discount code so you can get the limited time price on this. Once that code expires, it's going back up to retail, and then it's no longer very cheap. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me that thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe. And clean my litter box.
3, 2, 1. Oh, well, that's bad. That's not supposed to happen. Okay, let's do that over again. It's not supposed to trip the friggin' breaker.
RV Golf Guy. Vaughn Rupp. Brian Luters. John Jason Soroka. Dr. Steve Eisenberg.